So here's the little guide I promised you on what's in the exam and how you can help your student as they approach their Religious Studies GCSE. So key information about the exam is that there are two exams in May, hour and 45 minutes each, or 2 hours 11 if you have extra time. The exam board is AQA, which is important when you're searching for resources. The students are aiming for a target grade between 1 and 9. If you're not sure what that means in old money, as it were, there's a little bit of information for you there. Pause and check it out if you'd like. They study 2 main religions, as well as a range of religious attitudes to different modern day issues, which we refer to as themes. More of that on the next slides. So paper 1 is beliefs and practices. Every school in the country is learning about Christianity. They learn what they believe, what that's based on, so the life of Jesus and so on. And what do they do? So that involves their practices, where they worship, how they worship, but also how they are in the world. So things they do like support food banks and so on, which lives out their faith in a practical way. Now, not all schools do Buddhism. Everyone gets to choose, the schools get to choose their own religion, but we do Buddhism. What do they believe? And again, what do they do? So how do they act in the world? What are their practices? And so on. Paper 2 is what we call the themes paper. And the themes we look at are relationships, crime and punishment, life and death, and human rights and social justice. So that's where we get into the nitty gritty of the topics that are important in the world today. So looking at wealth and poverty, abortion, relationships, marriage, divorce, etc., and crime and punishment. The students have a very clear list of those areas that they need to revise. So these are the ones that you can probably get into some really good discussions around the dinner table or in the car when you're driving somewhere to ask about these. So by format, I just mean, what does the exam look like? What are these students actually doing when they sit down for paper 1 or paper 2? Well, they have to do 4 questions like this, A, B, C, D, E, on each paper. So A and B, pretty quick. They do a multiple choice question, give an example. C and D, they're going to have to explain 2 ways, 2 reasons, beliefs or teachings, and they need to do that in quite a lot of detail and give examples and explanations of their points. This needs to be a paragraph, really. D is different from C. In that they must refer to teachings, and that's where the revision on the quotations, which I'm going to refer to in a minute, is so important, because they must say Jesus said, Buddha said, the Bible states. They've got to put in a quotation that shows that they understand where these beliefs actually come from, the origins in the teachings. E is worth 12 marks, and this is where the students are given a statement to think about and to weigh up. They must refer to religion in this, and they need to be able to give 2 detailed answers. So it's a little bit like giving 2 D responses, where they give reasons and beliefs and teachings and so on, and quotations. So they need to do that almost twice in the E question, because they're weighing up 2 different points of view, and then at the end they give their own view on which of those points of view is more convincing. So it is a lot. You know, when they have the day of their EP exam, they will come home at the end of it pretty tired, because if they've done it right, they will have written pages and pages and pages. In the recent mock, some of them were writing between 12 and 17 sides of A4. So, you know, this is a lot, and they are working really hard, believe me. So this is where the support comes in. Having a space and time to do their revision is incredibly important. Making sure that even if it's just the end of the kitchen table, if they don't have a dedicated space in their room, that they have got somewhere they feel they can work, and that they've got a bit of time to do it as well. I've added there positive outlook, offers of help and downtime, because it can feel a bit like all we talk to them about is their revision, have you done your homework yet, and so on. But making sure that we're also there to lend them a hand, or to just be that person who says, come on, let's watch an episode of that series we were watching, and have a bit of downtime. Making sure that they're also resting is important as well. On a practical level, there's lots of things that we can buy or find online. This example of this book, I've just had a quick search. That's available on World of Books for £3.50 at the moment. So you can go second hand, get on Vinted and so on. If you are searching for things, GCSE, RS Revision, AQA, and then either paper 1 or paper 2. If you search for that, there are so many resources online. You do not have to reinvent the wheel, and you do not have to buy anything if you don't want to or can't. You can find these things online quite easily. So what even is revision? I think, some of us may remember doing a lot of this when we were in school, some of us may not. So here are some little guides to what they can do. Well, students are going to be learning quotations. As I mentioned, in the D questions and the E questions, they absolutely have to refer to teaching. So learning those quotations, they have lists of them. I've emailed them out to them. They have them printed off. So helping them to learn those is going to be really important. Key terms as well. Practice what those are, some of the trickier ones, especially for Buddhism, because this is a less familiar set of languages, set of words, sorry, when they're looking at things like samsara and karma and metta and so on, then they do need to learn those a little bit more. Linking the teachings, beliefs and practices. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how you can do that here. So what can you say to them? Here, pass me those flashcards and I'll test you for 5 minutes. Keeping it short, making it seem like an achievable goal. I'll just, well done, you've learnt them or you've written them. Let me test you on that now. When you watch that video, come and give me a 2-minute summary while I'm doing dinner. So, reminding them that you are there. They've watched that perhaps while you're in the car, what were you watching the other day? What did you learn? Sum it up for me in 2 minutes. Can be really useful. Here's a great one. Would Christians and Buddhists think the same way about that then? So if you're watching the news or you've seen that they've been revising, say, divorce or animal experimentation, you can just ask, do Christians and Buddhists think the same about that? Be curious and get them to tell you what they've learnt. And then, if they're not watching the news, you could just mention some of the things you've seen. Have you seen that Scotland voted against euthanasia? And then just let the conversation develop from there. Just as I said before, yes, you can search up lots of things, but the kids absolutely know this. They know where they can find information and seek it out online. So get them to search through their emails from me and they would have lots of things to look at there. And finally, breathe. I know that this is, especially when it's the first child going through GCSEs, one of the biggest challenges that they perhaps will have faced. And they are working. I think it's really important that we recognise the sort of mental load that they're going through, the pressures they're having to juggle from all different teachers, and thinking about getting into college or sixth form, and they're probably realising, some of them for the first time, that actually their actions are having an impact on what's going to happen next. So trying to relieve some of the pressure around that is really important, and taking the pressure off yourself as well. It's okay to go out for a walk because their GCSEs are impacting you. I completely understand that as well. So just making sure that everybody's understanding that in 2 months' time this will all be a memory and in the distant past, and they'll be getting ready for prom and we'll be taking pictures in the garden and feeling super proud of them. And hopefully when we get to the results day in August, this will all have been worth it. So if you need anything else from me, please let me know, but I wish you good luck.